Hey guys, we're down on the allotment today and we have a lot to do. I am going to be taking out my poppy, taking out my calendula. I'm going to put some other dahlia tuber that I still have into the ground where the calendula is now. And then I need to do some pinching. I have some cosmos to pinch, I have some dahlia to pinch, and I have lots of flowers to harvest. Let's go. Hi guys, my name is Peggy and I am growing a cut flower garden here on my allotment in Kanagawa Prefecture, Japan, which is just south of Tokyo in USDA Zone 9B. Thanks for checking out my channel. Okay, so I'm going to start today by taking some stuff out. This is the poppy that I started growing last year. It's California poppy, the jelly bean series. And I planted it last year, it didn't do anything, but it leafed up, so I left it in and it came back this year, but I don't particularly like it. The flowers are small, they're a bit wishy-washy, or they're a luminous orange, like this. They're not making me particularly nice seed heads either, and now they're just taking up room in my garden. But like I said in my video last week, if you watched it, I do like having poppy now because I'm kind of in an in-between time when I don't have that much flowering in the garden. So I like having poppy, I just don't like having these poppies. So I'm going to pull these ones out, but come autumn time, I am going to try and reseed some different poppy, probably Icelandic poppy. But for now, I am going to take these out. The only bad thing about putting the support netting on is that it's a bit of a nightmare to work through, especially when all the plants have grown up through the netting. So it's a bit of a nightmare. But these poppy have really shallow roots, so they come out really easily anyway. Okay, so now that this is cleared out, I'm going to go ahead and plant with some of the things that I tried last year and didn't have much success with. So here I have some scabius black knight, I've got nigella black caraway and nigella miss jekyll, and again these didn't work last year, I think because they got shaded out really quickly. I think by my zinnia were next to them and they got big, and my gomphrena was also next to them and it just got big and bushy and shaded them all out. So I've got a nice big space here. I'm going to put in a few rows of these. Now, like I say, it is 1-year-old seed, so I'm not sure what my germination is going to be like, but I've got the seed, I may as well put it in. Okay, next I'm going to pull out these calendula. Now, they look like they're doing nice, and when I've got very few other flowers in the garden, it seems a bit silly. But I'm not particularly keen on them. I find that they're breaking very easily when I try and harvest them, and they had a terrible vase life. They were dead after 2 days. So there's just really nothing that I'm liking about these calendula. So I'm going to cut the ones that are flowering now and take them home with me, and the rest I'm going to rip up and I'm going to plant some more dahlia tuber. I don't know if you've noticed this guy sneaking in. If you watched along last year, you'll know that this was all sunflower last year and I didn't like them for lots of different reasons. But it seems that some of them have reseeded and are trying to stealthily sneak their way in here, and he has got really quite big already. I don't know if I'm going to leave them in. It's only one, I think there's maybe 2. I might just leave them and see what I get. But for now, I'm going to cut these back and then I'm going to rip them all out. Hi, baby. Look, they just snap so easily. Really nothing that I found that I like about these calendula.
They drop fallen.
Oh, my hands are so sticky. They're so sticky.
Gloves?
No, it's okay. No, that's enough. That's all I'm taking. The rest can come out. I have some helpers in the garden today. I have Squirrel, as always, but also Mum's visiting from Scotland. Slowly roasting in the sunshine. So I'm going to get her to pull out the calendula, and while she does that, we're going to look at my dahlia, which are blooming. I have my first dahlia flowers. Now, if you watched my video last week, you'll know that I've been away, and so I did not get the opportunity to pinch these dahlia when I should have, but these ones down the front are still quite small, and so that's what we're going to do today, is pinch these guys. Okay, so the reason you pinch dahlia is so that instead of having one main growing stem coming up with the flowers coming off it, you end up pinching it and it puts out more stems, so you get more flowers. Now, I'm not overly concerned that I didn't pinch these ones because these didn't come from one tuber. These were the tuber that I grew last year, and I didn't divide them. So they do actually have a big clump under there, and I'm hoping that each of those will put up different stems. So although this technically was only one tuber, you can see that it's actually put up 6 stems from that one. So I'm not overly concerned about it. But because these ones are at the right stage down here, I'm going to go ahead and cut them. Now, you want to do this when they've got 4 sets of true leaves on them. So just count up the 4 sets and then chop the head off. Okay, so let's start with this guy. He's actually putting out 2 stems from the same tuber anyway. But let's go 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm just going to chop off this bit. And there you have it. If you are planning on growing, flowers for a cut flower garden, or to sell them, dahlia are a good one because you can't really get these very easily shipped from abroad, for the simple reason that if you look here at the stem, you can see it's totally hollow. And that means that they break really, really easily. And so to be able to ship these from abroad and have them not all break in transit is very hard to do, which is why they cost a lot if you're buying them, and why you can then sell them for a lot if you're growing them locally. Okay, now I have all of those flowers out. I have some more dahlia to grow or to plant. Now this was just a dahlia mix that I bought. But hopefully it's going to have some of the bigger ones. Most of my dahlia last year, some of them I grew from seed, and the others tended to be the kind of smaller pom-pom dahlia. So I'm hoping that some of these are going to be the bigger, kind of more showy dinner plate dahlia. And because I've been waiting to take the calendula out, these guys have actually been in a wee bit too long, but it means that they are starting to sprout already, which is great. It means hopefully I should be getting more dahlia really soon. So I'm going to pop these in here. I think I've planted these ones a bit close together, so I'm going to spread these out a little bit more. The only thing I have in there is my gypsophilia, which starts here, so I kind of have quite a big space to put these ones in. You don't need to dig them very deep. You kind of want, if they have a bit on them, you can have that sticking out. And remember that when you plant dahlia, you do not plant them this way, you plant them this way, side down. And I am just going to pop in a cane. It will give a little bit of support when they start to come up, but mostly it's so I remember where they are. The only downside of buying a mix is that you don't actually know what specific type of dahlia you're going to get. Which, if you're doing this for profit and you're going to sell them, makes it hard. You kind of want to know what you're selling people, what you can offer them. So sometimes once the flower comes up, you can try and identify it that way. But it is, if you're going to be selling them, usually better to get one that you know exactly what kind of dahlia it is. Done. Oh, usually once you plant a dahlia, you don't want to water it until you start seeing some shoots coming up, because you don't want the tuber to be sitting wet and to rot. We are due lots of rain tomorrow, so I'm not going to put any water on these at all, even though they do have the little shoots starting to come. I'm still just going to leave them dry in the soil for now, because I do not want them to rot. I do also seem to have 2 extra dahlia growing here. I'm guessing I missed a tuber when I dug them up last year, because this is where my dahlia were. and they're growing there, which is a bit random, right in the middle of the garden, but I'll leave them there and just move the tuber at the end of the season, I think. More dahlia. Okay, so next on my to-do list is my cosmos. Now, I have planted a few different varieties of cosmos here. I have Cosmos chamboise, I have apricota, and I have a cupcake one. Now, not all of these have come up, so I am going to reseed the ones that are missing today, but also these need pinched as well. Now, you can see this one's already putting up a flower. Last year I didn't have much luck with my cosmos. They didn't like the weather. I had put too many of them together, so I've put them further apart this year. But I was growing the double click ones last year, and the flower heads were much smaller than I wanted. But also the stems weren't very strong, so because there were so many petals on the flower head, they were drooping over and not being able to hold themselves up. Now, everything I've read says pinch your cosmos, you'll get more flowers. But one thing I read said don't pinch your cosmos because it makes the flowers smaller. Now, of course, you read 1,000 things that say pinch, 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 and you read one that says don't pinch, and it just sticks in the back of your mind. So I've decided that just to be sure for myself, I am going to do a bit of an experiment this year, and I am going to pinch half of them and not pinch the other half and see if that makes any difference. Now, when you pinch, it sets them back a couple of weeks in their flowering. This one's already flowering, so I'm probably not going to pinch it. The sensible thing to do would say, right, I'll pinch the front row and not the back row, but because I've got some gaps here, it's not that straightforward. So I think I'm just going to have to pinch randomly and try and remember which ones I pinched and which ones I didn't. But for the most part, I think I'll try and pinch out the back row because they're bigger and ready to be pinched right now, and the front row is still a bit smaller. So that is what I'm going to do right now, is pinch these out, just exactly the same as the dahlia. You take about 10 centimeters down the stalk and just pinch it out. Here you can also see this is amaranth that I planted last year, and it has reseeded itself everywhere. Absolute nightmare. But yeah, let's pinch some cosmos. Okay, pinched back row, not pinched front row. Let's see if it makes a difference. Okay, and that is me done all of the chores for today. We have taken out our poppy, we've taken out our calendula, I have planted some scabius, some nigella, some more dahlia tuber. I've just put a second row of netting along my dahlia to help give them a bit more support. I have harvested all of my sweet pea and snapdragon, and my mum is currently doing the cornflower over there that need to be harvested so that they keep coming again. I have pinched out my cosmos and reseeded, and I have reseeded some of my zinnia as well. And I'm hot, really, really hot. But the garden is starting to fill up and look good. So I am going to give it a good soak now because it's very, very hot. And that is us done for today. So mum's melting over there. So if you want to see what I do with the flowers that I have cut, then check out my Instagram, which is From the Witch's Garden. There's a link below this video. And if you want to see what happens and to keep following along for this season, then remember to hit the subscribe button below. And I will see you guys next week. Bye.